Have you ever felt like you're in a dark tunnel and you can maybe only see a few steps ahead? You've got this destination, right? A big goal, maybe,
Yeah.
but the path forward just feels murky, uncertain.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Well, today on the deep dive, we're looking at this really powerful idea from our sources.
Progressive vision.
Exactly. And look, this isn't about suddenly having the entire, like, detailed blueprint of your future
Yeah.
just appear.
No, it's more dynamic than that.
It really is. It's about a way to keep moving forward, even when the full picture is still, coming into focus.
Right.
And our mission today really is to pull out the practical stuff, the insights that can help you take action, make real progress.
By focusing on that next step.
Just the next step, instead of getting totally paralyzed by how huge the overall vision feels. Okay, so let's unpack this.
Okay. So what's fascinating, I think, right at the start of the source material is this foundational idea. It talks about creativity, which basically translates to active creation.
Active creation.
Yeah. So it immediately tells us that being creative isn't just, sitting and thinking. It's about doing. And the text contrasts these people who are creative, actively questioning things with those who aren't creative, not questioning.
Right, passive.
Exactly. So the core message is pretty clear. If you want to prosper, you need to activate your creativity.
Makes sense.
And crucially, this act of creating, of being active, it's presented as the actual starting point for any kind of progress.
So it's like progress requires that active creation, not just watching from the sidelines.
Precisely. It's not passive observation.
Which links back to that idea of not waiting, right?
Yeah.
Not waiting for perfect clarity before you even start.
Exactly. The source puts it so well. Don't wait for total clarity to start. The vision comes with the action.
Wow, okay. So the path reveals itself as you walk it, basically.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Which kind of goes against a lot of advice,
Right.
Have everything planned out perfectly.
Right. The detailed 5-year plan.
Yeah. But this suggests the act of moving, of doing something creative, that's what actually illuminates the path ahead.
It lights the way.
So if you're feeling stuck in that tunnel we mentioned, this idea of active creation, it tells us the first step is just to do something, anything creative.
Just start. Start lighting your own way.
Yeah.
And this act of creation, it naturally leads into the idea of disruption.
Okay.
The text frames disruption not as some, big chaotic thing, but as the sort of logical outcome of being creative.
How so?
Well, when you start questioning norms, looking for new ways, that's creativity, right? Disruption often follows. It's about breaking free.
From that comfort zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What the source calls the frequency of normality that can kind of hold you back.
Which brings us to a really interesting, maybe slightly unexpected idea. Exercising shame. That's what the source calls it.
Exercising shame. Okay, that sounds a bit weird.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's not about trying to feel bad on purpose. It's more like intentionally doing things that might feel a bit silly or outside your comfort zone.
Like posting goofy stuff online, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Like that example. The purpose behind it, as I get it, is to kind of desensitize yourself to what other people think.
Okay. Letting go of that judgment.
Right. And here's where it gets interesting. It's about breaking free from that fear of what everyone thinks of your first attempts. The ones that are probably imperfect.
Like trying a new hobby you're bad at.
Totally. The more you do it, the less self-conscious you become,
Yeah.
right? And that frees you up to actually get better.
Precisely. By deliberately stepping outside those sort of self-imposed boundaries of what's normal or acceptable, you start to dismantle the power that other people's judgment holds over you.
So you can take those first crucial steps.
Yeah, without being crippled by that fear of not being perfect right away. It's like embracing the ridiculous as a tool almost.
A tool for liberation. Okay, so building on that, overcoming fear. You started moving, you're being creative, maybe you're a bit less worried about looking foolish. What keeps that momentum going?
Right. That's where this concept of progressive pressure.
Progressive pressure, okay.
The source really emphasizes that progress is a daily thing.
So every day, applying pressure until you complete a cycle, reach a specific goal.
Exactly. It's about that consistent daily effort, that steady application of pressure.
Like building muscle, maybe.
Yeah.
Small efforts consistently.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And this daily pressure is directly linked to progressive vision.
How so?
It's described as
The ability to see only the next step, the next phase, not the whole past.
exactly just the next thing. The source uses this analogy of only seeing phase two after you've completed phase one.
Ah, I like that. You don't need to see the whole staircase.
Just the next step. It's about breaking down that potentially overwhelming goal into manageable chunks.
That makes so much sense. And the consequence of not doing that, of not taking those steps, is laid out pretty starkly, isn't it?
It is.
Whoever doesn't move doesn't leave their place. They see nothing new, no new phase. They just stay in this endless loop, right? Without reaching any goal or growing personally.
Yeah, it paints a very clear picture. Stagnation is the alternative to this progressive movement.
So the big takeaway here seems to be action fuels clarity, which is counterintuitive but powerful.
Yep.
Now, the source also uses some really vivid metaphors to help understand this, right?
It does, yeah. Really helpful ways to visualize it. The first one is the candle in the tunnel. You're in the dark, right? And the candle you're holding only lights up the immediate steps right in front of you. If you just stand there, you're surrounded by darkness. But as you move,
Light moves with you.
exactly, the candle reveals a little more of the path. The text stresses that action is what lets you see further, and faith, it says, is like the flame that lights the candle to begin with.
Wow. So the insight there is action illuminates the path forward.
Yeah,
Don't wait until you can see everything.
precisely.
I love that. It captures that uncertainty, but also the need for that initial leap. What was the other one?
The roller coaster of life.
Okay.
Think about it. You only see a bit of the track before you get on, right?
True. Especially the big drops.
Exactly. The full journey, all the ups and downs, it's only revealed once you're actually in motion. Getting to the top, seeing that broader view, requires the courage to just get on board and trust the process. It's in the movement that the pieces are revealed. Yeah.
So the insight is embrace the unknown, trust the process. Clarity comes through actually doing it.
Both metaphors really hammer home that point. Clarity follows action, not the other way around.
Okay. So moving beyond just the need for action, the source goes deeper into vision itself, doesn't it? It talks about layers.
It does. It proposes 3 distinct layers of vision: physical, almatica, and spiritual.
Physical, almatica, like soul-based, and spiritual. Okay.
Right. Physical vision is straightforward, what you see with your eyes, but the text warns us about its limits.
How
So it can be tricked by optical illusions, right? Affected by tiredness. It even mentions deja vu as a kind of sensory hiccup or glitch.
So don't just rely on what you see.
Exactly. The key insight is that true vision isn't just physical. It includes our mental projections, our imagination, and also a connection to something bigger, a greater purpose. Don't get stuck just on what's right in front of your eyes.
Right. The source says don't be a slave to your physical vision because it can be unreliable. It quotes, "Not everything we see is reliable."
Many bad decisions come from the illusion of the senses. Yeah.
So if physical vision is limited, what about those other layers? Almatica and spiritual.
So the almatica vision, that's described as what the mind projects, what you imagine, visualize. It's your mental imagery, your creative capacity, essentially.
Your inner world.
Exactly. And the spiritual vision is tied to that higher purpose, whether you see that as God, destiny, a personal mission, something bigger than just you.
Yep.
The source encourages us to see with the eyes, project with the soul, fulfill with the spirit.
So it's about integrating all three.
Right. Trusting not just sight, but also your internal feelings, your intuition, what lies beyond the immediate senses.
Yeah.
It even points out, that people without physical sight can have incredibly strong mental visions.
That's a powerful point.
Think of it like this. Physical is what's right here. Almatica is your dreams, your plans. And spiritual is that deep sense of why you're doing it, the purpose guiding you, even if it's hard to put into words.
That really shifts the perspective. It emphasizes the power of our internal world, doesn't it?
Hugely. The source describes the mind as an image projector.
Like a movie projector.
Kind of, yeah. Suggesting that our external reality tends to respond to these internal projections we hold.
But it also warns against images limited by our current beliefs. How do we break free from those?
Okay, so the key, according to the text, involves engaging what it calls the CPF.
CPF, not the tax ID.
No. It stands for cortex prefrontal. Prefrontal cortex.
Right.
The part of the brain dealing with planning, complex thought, imagining the future.
Ah, okay. Executive function.
Right. And we need that part to take the lead over the CV, the cortex visual, which is more focused on our current, often limited reality.
So it's like a battle inside.
The source actually frames it as an internal duel between the CV, present view, and the CPF, future vision. And the vision of the future, generated by the CPF, is what breaks through those limitations.
That's fascinating. It uses a great metaphor, too. People with vision are like having a projector on their forehead.
Radiating light.
Yeah, radiating light, attracting others to their vision. It says when someone projects their vision with enough force, others are just naturally drawn in. They connect with that possibility.
And then comes this really powerful statement.
If my mind goes, my body will follow. Never the other way around.
Yeah, it just nails the idea that mental conviction comes first.
Okay, and building on this idea of mental projection, there's a crucial principle introduced.
Yes,
Vision generates provision, never the other way around.
right. It argues that resources, the stuff you need, they don't just appear before you start. They emerge as you move forward, driven by the clarity of your vision.
So the vision comes first, then the means to achieve it.
That's the argument. Like, imagine starting a small business. You have a clear vision for it. You might lack all the resources initially.
Yeah, most people do.
But as you take action, show your value based on that vision, opportunities, resources, help, they start to appear.
This directly challenges that common feeling, doesn't it? That
Yeah.
need to have everything perfectly lined up first. The money, the plan.
Absolutely. The source specifically calls out people who say, when I have the resources, I'll begin.
It says they've got it backwards.
They've inverted the natural order, yeah. The text emphasizes provision will always come in stages.
Stages, like levels in a game.
Exactly like that. Or like turning pages in a long book. You start with what you have, even if it's just enough energy, enough belief for that first phase.
And the danger, it warns, is perfectionism.
Huge danger. Overly perfectionistic people wait for ideal conditions, and that just leads to stagnation, getting stuck.
So it's about starting, even imperfectly, and trusting that what you need will show up along the way.
Trusting the process, trusting the vision.
And this vision you carry, the source says it's your responsibility. It even links it to the number 10, numerologically.
Yeah, suggesting significance and completion of a cycle, perhaps.
And it explains that if you have a really big vision, something aiming for massive impact, you won't have everything at the start. The support, the tools.
Resources, people, opportunities, they arise along the way, not at the beginning.
That takes a lot of pressure off needing it all up front.
It really does. And the text uses some powerful biblical examples to illustrate this unfolding.
Like Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah having Isaac when biologically it seemed impossible. It shows how vision can be fulfilled progressively, against the odds.
And Jacob.
Jacob's transformation, from trickster to Israel, it highlights how even your identity can evolve as you pursue and live out your vision.
So these stories aren't just about the end result, but the journey.
Exactly. The power of long-term commitment and how the journey itself shapes you and brings what's needed.
It's a strong reminder that the journey itself is transformative. And a key takeaway here is you'll never see the end of the road.
No, it's continuous.
It's about embracing that continuous growth and committing to that personal affirmation. I will progress.
And this progress, the source argues pretty strongly, is driven more by your mindset than by external stuff.
More important than where you came from or what you have.
Yeah. More important than origin, resources, or connections is the vision you nurture daily.
How you feed your mind.
Right. A strong vision influences your choices, even small ones, like what content you consume. It mentions avoiding shallow stuff.
And it suggests that 40-day vision cleanse, right? Avoiding things that cloud your clarity. That's pretty practical.
Very practical. It's about actively curating your mental environment.
So, okay, how does this work in practice, day to day?
Well, it's about building that vision step by step, incrementally, and using it to advance even when things feel uncertain, even in the middle of the cloud.
When things are foggy.
Exactly. And changes in your environment, maybe moving or changing your thinking patterns, these all contribute to progress.
And as the vision matures, adjusts, progress speeds up.
That's the idea. The clearer and more refined the vision becomes, the faster you tend to move. And it even suggests small actions, like literally saying out loud,
I am moving to the next phase.
yeah, or writing in the gerund, the ing form, like I am advancing, to affirm it's happening now.
Little mindset shifts. Building on that, the importance of surroundings. Our environment really stands out too,
Oh, absolutely. The right environments expand vision.
especially through mentors.
Yes, mentorship, interaction with successful people. Being near visionary minds can kind of activate your own potential. It's contagious in a good way.
So seek out those environments.
Definitely. And the source gives some concrete tasks too, like note down all your ideas, even the crazy ones.
Don't filter yet.
No. Then choose one to apply daily in small ways. Don't limit your vision with negative self-talk. Try to create multiple solutions for problems, not just one.
Be solutions oriented.
Right. And prioritize personal effectiveness. action, creativity, and detaching from those limiting social norms we talked about.
That ties back to the exercising shame idea.
It all connects. And to reinforce this long-term commitment, it brings in more biblical stories. Joseph, Noah, Daniel.
Figures who stuck with their vision despite huge challenges, ridicule.
Exactly. Years, decades sometimes. The conclusion drawn is pretty profound. True vision isn't really yours.
What does that mean?
It suggests it's instilled by God, destiny, a greater mission, something beyond just your own ego.
Wow. Okay. And there's a lion metaphor.
Yeah, having that firm inner vision gives you clarity, conviction, like a lion's presence. Even if others mistake it for arrogance, you know where you stand.
Because it comes from that deeper place.
Right, and the source is just packed with these impactful quotes, these little nuggets.
Like which ones?
Things like, if God gave you the vision, the problem is now his, which speaks to trust, right?
Yeah, letting go of control.
Or die for it, but don't live without it, showing the depth of commitment required.
Intense.
And this one really captures the progressive idea.
The vision isn't the whole thing. It's revealed in parts. If you saw everything at once, you'd run away.
Exactly, it would be too overwhelming.
That makes so much sense. It also talks about practice, doesn't it? Not just consuming information.
Oh yeah, big time. It suggests something like a 60-to-1 ratio, 60 hours of practice for maybe 30 minutes of content consumed.
Wow. So, action is paramount.
Daily creative activity, eliminating distractions, pointless content, unproductive chats, changing energy, consistency.
Yeah.
It all circles back to doing,
And it keeps linking back to those figures, Elisha, Noah, Daniel, Abraham.
showing a pattern. And it brings up Desalienist sound again.
Becoming unalienated, taking control.
Yes, taking control of your life is presented as crucial for this progressive vision to work. And it suggests practical daily rituals.
Like affirmations.
Identity affirmations, conscious breathing, using music to shift your state, practical tools.
It revisits that Elisha story, right? With the servant whose eyes were open.
Yes, 2 Kings 6.17, emphasizing that spiritual vision, seeing beyond the physical.
Seeing the invisible support.
Exactly. It reiterates the 3 vision types, physical, almatica, spiritual, linking them to body, soul, spirit, and reinforces that CV versus CPF idea.
The current view versus the future projection.
Right. And leaves us with those powerful phrases again. If my mind goes, my body follows.
My soul longs for things my eyes haven't yet seen.
Beautiful, isn't it? And it's not about waiting for the best conditions. It's about pursuing your vision.
So ultimately, it's faith, desire, and aligned action. That's the foundation.
That's the core of it. And finally, the source tackles obstacles, things that block the vision from manifest.
Alienation and inhibition.
Yeah, internal blocks. It uses metaphors like car headlights, seeing only a limited distance ahead versus a helicopter view, seeing the bigger picture.
Limited versus broader perspective.
Exactly. And it repeats those practical daily habits. Note ideas, pick one to act on, define your problem, create multiple solutions.
Keep taking action.
And it sums it up nicely. Progressive vision requires inner clarity, not external control.
That's huge. Because we often try to control the outside.
We do, but the source offers this comfort.
You don't need certainty about everything. You need conviction you're heading the right way.
That's the key, and the warning. Without action, vision rots. It turns into frustration, not motivation, like a painting just admired on the wall, not lived.
But it also needs patience, right? It's not instant.
Definitely. Progressive vision respects maturation time. Vision without patience becomes anxiety.
Vision with wisdom becomes realization.
Nice. And it makes a crucial distinction about the source of the vision. Is it ego or purpose?
How does it phrase that?
If the vision doesn't serve something greater than you, maybe it's just ambition in disguise.
Oof. That's something to reflect on.
It really is. And it highlights the power of sharing the vision.
Yeah.
A shared vision multiplies. True vision isn't selfish. It wants to reach people.
It's inherently expansive.
Yeah. And finally, it acknowledges that sometimes, even with progressive vision, you hit moments of blindness, fog.
What then?
That's when faith is called upon. When the vision disappears, it's because faith is being called to lead the way, trusting that inner knowing.
So, okay, let's try and wrap this up. It really offers a powerful way to handle those big, maybe overwhelming goals, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's a fundamental shift in focus.
From needing the entire path perfectly lit up
Right, which almost never happens.
to just concentrating on that very next step, what's right in front of you.
Embracing action, doing something, even when clarity is limited, and trusting that the process will unfold.
Yeah, trusting the unfolding. And it really underscores that inner clarity, that conviction
Yeah.
that's more vital than trying to control everything outside.
And that key idea, Vision often comes before the resources. You don't wait for the provision, the vision generates it.
It flips the common script.
Completely. And it's a reminder that progress isn't always about these giant leaps. It's more often about those consistent daily steps.
Guided by that inner vision.
Exactly. Guided by that inner vision, even when the way forward looks, a bit fuzzy.
So as you're listening, thinking about your own goals, your aspirations, maybe consider, what's one small step? Maybe even a slightly ridiculous step, as the source suggests.
Something outside the comfort zone.
Yeah. What small step can you take today that feels aligned with that deeper sense of purpose? Even if the full picture is totally unclear right now, what candle can you light in your own tunnel right now?
That's the question to ponder.
We really encourage you to reflect on these ideas, see how the principles might help you move forward.
And remember, it's a continuous journey. Learning, taking action.
Always more to explore. Keep moving.